really good shot, and that was really impressive how that was organised, and that was really good. So I think clearly the protest went well. I saw there's some creative chants coming out. Can Beyonce play up front? I saw, which was quite funny. I felt.
Yeah, then it was followed off by Guns N' Roses in defence.
Guns N' Roses in defence.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if there's another one planned in the near future.
Yeah, I was speaking to Lyndon, who obviously runs Change for Spurs. I had an interview with him. I put it on the kind of interview montage that I put up yesterday. But he said that plans are kind of under wraps at the moment, but there will be something from now to the end of the season.
Keeping it secret. I heard as well that there was discussions between Change for Spurs and, or no, I don't know specifically Change for Spurs, but Spurs were trying to tell the protesters kind of what they can and can't do at the protest, like with stickers and stuff, and which I think is a bit ridiculous. Like, it's a protest, you know. So we're supposed to be protesting you. You can't tell us how we can protest you, which is quite, I think, a ridiculous thing to kind of demand.
Classic Tottenham, though.
Yeah, of course it is. But I think it's a good thing because look. Whether it achieves what it wants to in terms of getting Levy out of the club and ENIC out, look, I don't think Levy or ENIC are going to leave due to a protest. But what it will do is if it's consistent and it's that visible, at some point they're going to be forced to address it, or they're going to be forced to at least acknowledge it. And they're going to also have to have a conversation internally about what they can do to basically get these protests to stop, shy of obviously leaving the club. Which I think is what's needed to shake this club into action a bit and get it to wake up a bit, because at the moment, you know, we have had so many years of disappointment, and it's clear at the moment it's going in one direction, and there's been one common denominator. There's been a lot of good managers and successful managers at this football club who've just, the one common denominator is they're not successful here. So I think I back the protest. I think it's a good thing that they're putting pressure on the board, and they're putting pressure on them to act, or to do something, or to know that let them know that we're unhappy with the current situation and we hold them responsible for it, and they should know that. And so I do think it's a good thing. Whatever people think about how successful it's going to be if it comes to achieving its goal, that's a different thing. But I do think, regardless of that, it's only a positive thing to have your voice heard in that way.
Yeah, and I think it's a very important thing for people to be able to get their voice heard, and that was definitely happened yesterday. You know, a lot of people stood up and took notice. You know, the high street, for people that weren't kind of on the protest, it was lined either side, people just watching it go by. So no person that went to the game yesterday probably didn't notice what was going on outside the ground, in my opinion. But yeah, credit to Lyndon, credit to Change for Spurs and all the hard work that goes into it, because I think from an organizational standpoint, I think it was organized a lot better yesterday. And you know, you can only kind of learn from past experiences, and I think they definitely learned a lot from the first protest, and this one was organized a bit better, and I think the next one will probably be even better.
I don't know, I mean, I didn't notice it this time, but was there as much social media campaigning in terms of Change for Spurs going on different podcasts and stuff this time round than there was last time?
Yeah, I mean, there was a bit. Obviously, they didn't come on here, but I think they went on like Last Word on Spurs, and they went on other various different platforms. But yeah, I felt like the noise around social media was more noisy the first time, pre the protest.
So in a way, it shows the appetite for it, the fact that it wasn't as noisy yet. There's still pretty good turnout.
Yeah, and you know what? I was speaking to quite a few people yesterday at the protest, right? And a lot of people that have come from far and wide. I spoke to one guy from Dublin who I got on the show and spoke to for quite a bit of time, and other people from various parts of Europe and even America. I think I spoke to one guy that came just for the protest, didn't even go into the game, just for the protest. So I think that's unbelievable.
He did a daigle.
Yeah, but you know, so brilliant stuff from all involved. And yeah, look, if you feel that way inclined about the board, and you are angry and you are kind of frustrated with the way the club's going and the club's run, then I do suggest you go check out Change for Spurs' socials and keep an eye on there about when the next protest will be, and come down, because it's also, the people there are all very respectful, and no one kind of steps out of line in terms of being overly aggressive or being overly rude, where, you know, in past years, I'm not saying at Spurs, but just protests in general can kind of turn that way sometimes. And I don't think that's ever been the case at Spurs. And even like if it does, like with one guy sometimes shouting a stupid chant, he gets shut down very quickly. So
I think he does a good job of controlling it and controlling how it's run. And I think it comes across very well, and it comes across as having a good message. And I think everyone knows that we're not happy as Tottenham fans at the moment with what's going on, and we haven't been happy for a while. And they need to change their operations. And look, I'd like a change at the top, but I don't see them just selling up because there's protests. But if they constantly see this message being sprung there, then they're going to have to acknowledge it at some point. And if it keeps being consistent, I think they'll have to.
I would say, though, it was something I noticed at the protest yesterday is that when we were getting towards the ground, or like right outside the West Stand, so in the first time there was like just no real barriers outside the West Stand. This time there were like quite big barriers there to make sure like they wouldn't be able to drape their kind of banners or show their banners in front of the West Stand. But
were they in the stadium? The banners, were they being shown?
Yeah, I saw them at half time. They were holding them up. I didn't see them at full time. Maybe I wasn't looking around, but I'm sure they were there. But basically outside the West Stand they had these big barriers. So I mean they just drape them over the top of it, so it didn't really make too much of a difference. Right. But they were just trying to obstruct in any kind of way that they could.
Of course they are, bastards.
So it's definitely being taken notice of from the club. That's the main thing.
Of course, well, they were liaising with Change of Spurs and all these different things. I don't know how many stick. I'm assuming I saw Brian Daigle after the game and he was covered with stickers. So I'm assuming a lot of people had stickers all around.
Stickers, flags, scarves, everything. It was like a sea of yellow coming down the high road. It really was.
So there's not purple and gold anymore.
It's just yellow.
It's now yellow.
Purple and gold was, I don't know where that came from, but it was never like a Change for Spurs thing. Change for Tottenham. Change for Tottenham have come in and they've got their yellow kind of branding, and I think it works well. It definitely stands out. That's
stands
for sure.
Out, yeah.
And so visually, I think the protest was better because a lot more people had these flags and these scarves, and when we were outside the West Stand, they were chanting "scarves up" or something like along those lines, and everyone had their scarves up. And visually, it was actually quite powerful, I thought. And
it just forces as well journalists to cover it. It forces fans will take videos of it. It just gets the message out there. I guess that's the important thing about these protests.
Yeah. So I thought it was a good day, good effort by everyone involved in the protest. Let's move on. Let's talk about the game because I looked at the lineup when the lineup first came out. And it was a much stronger than I anticipated. Sonny was there, Maddison was there. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, this is a lineup of a manager that's really under pressure right now. This is a lineup of a manager that just needs to get 3 points by hook or by crook. Doesn't matter how it comes. With a big game on Thursday, you would have expected, with this game really not meaning that much, you would have expected there to be quite a few changes. You would have expected Sonny to be rested, Maddison to be rested, and even a few others. I mean, we heard before the game that they were going to be rested, and they were the only ones with Mickey van der Ven.
How many changes was it in the end? So it was Davis, Porro, and Johnson. 3 changes, wasn't it?
That was it. And I expected more changes coming before the game, and that was my first thought. Like, this is a lineup of a manager that's really under pressure.
He did confirm it though, didn't he? As we said, but we thought it was just going to be 3 different players. As you said, Dan Kilpatrick said it was going to be Son, Maddison, and Van der Ven. It turned out to be Van der Ven was rested, but it turned out to be Odebear and a doggy. Which I mean, I don't know why those 2 players had to be rested, but I guess maybe it's not about being rested. Maybe it's just about putting those other players into the team potentially. He did say he's now trying to concentrate on getting this team to be a bit more cohesive again, which I understand. But look, if you're cynical, you definitely look at that and say, we've had so many losses that are like, if we were to change a team and drop points again, the pressure would be just so massive going into that game. And he just wanted to get some sort of win to get the some sort of positive feeling back into the camp. Now, I was also surprised, especially Sonny. I thought definitely Sonny would have been rested. He obviously only lasted 55 minutes before Odebear came on. Maddison played, near 80? He played quite. And also, I read somewhere that I think it was the first time he started a Thursday and a Sunday this season.
Sonny?
No, Maddison.
Oh, Maddison. Oh.
Which I don't know if that's true, but
maybe he can do it then, eh?
Well, it's the first time this season, so it's rare.
Yeah. I'm saying, why this time just before our biggest game of our season?
It's confusing.
It just doesn't make sense, does it? Some of these decisions just don't make sense. Like, You've not done it all season, even at points where you really should have done, because we've been lacking in numbers and Maddison's been on the bench sometimes, and we had that whole argument over that kind of subject as well. And then you've got a game that means pretty much absolutely nothing at this point in the season against the worst team, like statistically the worst team the Premier League has seen. The earliest relegation the Premier League has ever seen over the course of this weekend, and then you start Maddison. I just didn't get it.
He did play well, though, to be fair. Give him credit.
Okay.
But, I thought, especially with such a big game coming up, if he would have picked up an injury or something, that would have been extremely frustrating. I understand his reason for it. I understand it, but I don't know if I agree with it. I think at this point, you have to make sure these players are completely as fresh as possible going to Thursday. And I understand as well, Sunday to Thursday is a bit more easier to manage than Thursday to Sunday, so you could maybe get away with it a bit more. But he's going to be starting them in all three, so it's peculiar why he didn't go maybe lighten it a bit. Maybe he just felt his team needed a win going into Thursday, and that would do more good to them than resting them. Maybe that's what he felt. But yeah,
he also lasted longer in this game than he usually does as well. He played till 80th minute.
80th minute, yeah.
Usually takes him off like 70, 75. It's just peculiar, isn't it?
Solanke as well. I thought he would have gone off earlier. He lasted until 85.
I just don't understand. You got a player like Matisse Tell there, right? Who we've only got on loan. We've got to make a decision at the end of the season. Why not start him in this game?
Yeah, I also thought that was peculiar. And as well, he didn't bring him on when he took Sonny off. Obviously, I don't mind Odebear, but didn't understand that. I want to see, unless I don't know, unless we're not unless we've already made our minds up that we are going to sign him, then surely you'd want to see more of him.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe we have made our minds up, but I can't think that would be the case, judging by what we've seen so far.
Yeah.
You'd have thought you'd want to see more.
Yeah.
So it's all a bit strange at the moment.
Yeah, it is. But look, I just think it goes to a manager that is severely under pressure right now, and he just wanted to get those 3 points and didn't want to risk it not getting the 3 points, basically.
But you also, but surely you could take it the other way. If he rested everyone, you would also make the argument, he's severely under pressure. He knows that all his eggs in the Europa League basket.
Yeah, but I mean,
either way, you could say he's making decisions under pressure.
Yeah, I mean, not really, because if he's resting all his players, I think that's what any manager would probably do, is rest the majority of players when the league form means absolutely nothing right now, and going into a game where it's the biggest game of your season. The Southampton game, there was no need. I think a manager that doesn't have pressure on rests a lot of players.
A manager doesn't have pressure on. I mean, as I said, you could look at the other way. He knows the reality is he's going to be judged on the game on Thursday, not Sunday. Yeah,
but he just needed to get. I think in his mind, he just needed to get that win.
But maybe the team needed that.
Maybe. I mean, the team probably does need that. It's true. The team does need that. But I feel like even if we would have made a host of changes, we probably still would have won this game.
Yeah, I like to think so.
Yeah. Because I thought in the first half, Southampton were really poor. Really poor. Spurs were good. Don't get me wrong. I think it was a good start to the game. Energetic. We were all over them. We were creating chances. We got that goal.
Did nearly go 1-0 down, though.
Yeah, we did in the opening 5 minutes, which, customary Spurs to give away big chances. But I thought all in the first half, I thought Spurs were pretty good.
Yeah, it was pretty dominant.
Yeah.
I don't think it was scintillating.
No, it wasn't scintillating. It was like a very slow and lethargic game, but I thought we had the better of it. We were cutting them open, and we could have had more goals than we did.
Yeah, it was controlled. It wasn't too helter-skelter, but it was almost like just kind of managing it, while every time we went forward, it looked like we were causing problems. We were causing a lot of problems from set pieces. Romero had about 3 chances during that game. Obviously, we also had a goal ruled out through VAR from a set piece.
Another bloody long wait for that.
Yeah, another one.
It's ridiculous. I'm getting so sick and tired of this. And that is one thing I can agree with Ange. He's consistently talking about how frustrating these VAR decisions are. And it's not so much the decision that they come to. It's the wait. It's just constant waiting. You're just standing there at the ground, not knowing what's going on, just waiting for these stupid decisions to come through. I mean, how long does it have to take to come to a decision?
What I didn't understand as well is the one on Thursday, it took the one that was an offside that took about 5 minutes on Thursday when they were looking if Cole was offside. It took 5 minutes, but I could kind of understand why it took so long, because if you looked at the picture, there's so many different players involved, and you have to kind of pass through who's ahead of who, and like you have to do so many little lines, and like there's so many players bunched together. I can understand why that kind of took a while. This one was very, very clear. It's two players who they were doing it against. There was, I think, Ogachukwu from Southampton, and there was Romero. There was two players there. You just had to draw two lines. I don't know why it took like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It was a very obvious, not obvious decision, but like it was very clear where they had to draw the lines, and what it was very clear kind of what they were judging essentially. So I don't really understand what took so long, when every other offside, like when it's usually as simple as just drawing two lines between one player and another, it's a very simple process. Obviously, when they're drawing the lines, it can take a bit of time, but usually in that kind of decision, I've seen it take 1 or 2 minutes. But to take 4 or 5 minutes on that was a bit of a joke. I don't understand why this specific one took so long when it was actually a pretty simple kind of decision, or something in terms of knowing where to draw the lines and all that kind of stuff. It was bizarre, absolutely bizarre, and they were taking it from different angles. What I don't understand is, they've got it from one angle, right? And then they decided to switch the angle, look at from behind where Romero looked a bit more offside. But I thought that when you draw the line, right, that line would be the same from any angle, if you understand.
Think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah, so I don't understand why it's all of a sudden changing. And apparently, I was reading. There's a guy, Dale Johnson, does a VAR review, and he was saying that from one angle, it looked different to the other angle, so they drew the lines from another angle. I'm like,
but a line is a line.
Yeah, a line is a line. Surely it should be the same. It should you place it on one point, and when you switch the angle, it should remain in place. It shouldn't be changing or anything like that. So it makes me doubt like this whole process. Obviously, this is the last week we're going to have the lines drawn. From next week, it's semi-automated.
Need this, man. We desperately need this semi. Why has it not come in earlier? The technology's been there for so long.
They have it in other leagues as well, and they've had it in international tournaments, UEFA tournaments.
Premier League has got the most money out of any other league by far. You need to talk about multi-billion-pound industry, and we're only getting it now. The amount of time wasted over these stupid offside decisions when automated VAR offsides could have done it in seconds. Mm-hmm. It's just the whole thing's just ridiculous.
Yeah, completely agree. It's a bunch of nonsense, and I thought that the process. Also, I looked at the lines. I just wasn't convinced by it at all. And
was it like his shoulder or something?
I don't know. Probably something like that.
Stupid. But anyway, I think it takes away from the good performance that it was in the first half. Yes, I know you're going to say the poorest team in the league, 10 points all season, blah blah blah, which is all true. But I think, it was just good to see a Spurs team actually attack, actually create some chances, and put the ball in the bloody back of the net. Because that first goal was really good. Maddison, starting things, gets it to Sonny. Spence on the outside makes a nice little run, and a good drag back to Brennan Johnson, who smashes it into the back of the net. So I thought that was a really nice team goal.
It was a classic Ange goal. Yeah. Very reminiscent of the goal we scored against RZ. And it's a goal that you can see we work on that on training. You've seen it on the training videos, how often we work on that kind of move, and it came to fruition. You got to say as well, Brennan on his weaker foot running onto it, beautiful finish into the top corner, absolutely battered it first time, and he's so good in those positions, Brennan, and he got another goal as well, which we'll talk about, but he's so clinical when he gets in the box and it comes to him first time. Those finishes are not easy. That was not an easy finish to run onto it like that on his weaker foot, and it made it look easy, and it was a lovely team goal.
Yeah, no, it was a delight to see, and I was sitting right behind that goal, really low down in the south stand, so I was really close to it. Second goal comes just before half time, another goal from Brennan Johnson. He completely outdid Ramsdale with that finish. What a nice little cute finish, just underneath Ramsdale, wasn't it?
Yeah, it slid under him on the volley as well. Lovely little header, I thought, as well, from Maddison to set him up, which was, I think, caught everyone off guard. And just Johnson ran onto it and just a little flick volley finish, just kind of slow-mo past Ramsdale, just couldn't get closer to it. And it was another nice goal. And again, Johnson just being in that right position at the right time and finishing off what was, it wasn't a great move, but we kind of just took advantage of Southampton, being out of position and being a bit disorganised, and got the goal.
Yeah, 11 Premier League goals now for Brennan Johnson, which makes him the second Welsh player. the first Welsh player to score over 10 goals in a Premier League season since Gareth Bale.
And 16 in all comps.
Yeah. So unbelievable. Like, he could very easily hit 20 goals in all comps this season. And look, we all get frustrated with Brennan Johnson when he's not scoring because of what he impacts in the game. But if he can score 20, 25 goals a season, you know, I don't think anyone should have too many complaints. Look, you can critique his gameplay all you want, but I've said it many a time, and people were telling me that I'm crazy that I want to keep Brennan Johnson at his football club. But if you can score 20, 25 goals a season, that's a skill that not many other players have.
Well, only I think only Salah and Mbeumo in terms of wingers have got more goals in the Premier League this season than him. So I think that says a lot. That says a lot about how much he actually does score and how hard it is to get that many goals. He's one of the top goal-scoring wingers in the league, and that's not to be sniffed at, not to be chucked away. Now, I do think he's a big benefit. He's one of the big beneficiaries of Ange's system in terms of, I think, Ange really works very hard on getting him in those positions, and clearly that's something they work very hard on in training. And as well, when he gets to the byline, puts it across the face to goal, he's very good at that. I've said, you know, if it's in a different system, I don't know if he would be as effective as he is in this system. So I think a bit similar to Sterling, he might be a bit of a system player, very much suiting the system, I think.
Yeah, but I think there are a few systems that could work for him. Like you saw the Nottingham Forest how they were playing when he was in the team. You know, he was an up and coming player, scored quite a few goals in that Forest team, a very transitional team. So I think a lot of our players are suited to maybe more transitional game as well, and I don't think Brennan Johnson's no different.
Yeah, I think he's definitely better with space. But I think he's learned to. But I think he's learned to kind of operate when there's limited space in the penalty box. He's not very good when he's like asked to take a touch, but when he's got those first-time finishes, he's very, very clinical.
So you're saying he's not great at taking on men, right? But when you're asked to counter-attack and maybe find him in that space, you know, running in behind, that's where you want him as well. So I think Brennan Johnson can do it in different systems. I don't think it's just this system or nothing.
And my point being, I don't know if he gets as many goals in a different system. I think he's getting this many goals because of the system. Like, I think I'm not saying he can't play in other systems. My only point being is we're seeing this level of goals is because he's playing in this system. Like, if you put him in one of the other teams, one of the other top teams in the league, I don't think he gets this level of output.
Potentially. But also he is young and he can add more strings to his bow as he goes on. So he's still in development mode, isn't he? He's not like the finished article just yet.
Yeah, 23?
Yeah, exactly. So he's still a young player, and I think people forget that as well. And when you score 20 goals, let's say he gets 20 goals this season, which, you know, 4 more goals, he can probably get more than that. For a 23-year-old in the Premier League, I mean, that's brilliant numbers.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. I think he doesn't get enough credit.
Well, in all comps.
Yeah, well, he doesn't get enough credit for getting that level of output, in my opinion. And that's a lot of it is down to getting those positions and just being really clinical. Those finishes yesterday were not easy. Both of them really nice finishes. And I think both of those goals, a lot of wingers in the Premier League probably missed those chances. So I think he's done very, very well to continue to keep getting those positions. Even when if it's the tap-ins, he's still getting there consistently, making those runs. And because he's so fast and actually quite broad physically, once he gets the run on you, he's very hard to stop.
I hate this narrative, though, about Brennan, about tap-ins. Like, that's still a skill to get in those positions. You know what I mean? Like, everyone's like, oh, he's just a tap-in merchant. All he does is score tap-ins. But I mean, that means your positional play is brilliant. You know what I mean? How many tap-ins did Ruud van Nistelrooy get for Manchester United? He made a career out of it, and he was considered as one of the best strikers the Premier League has seen. I'm not sitting here saying Brennan Johnson is any Ruud van Nistelrooy, but I'm just saying it's a skill set.
100%, and being able to sniff out when the opportunity is, being able to be at the right place at the right time. 100%, that's a skill, but it's not a skill everyone has, and he clearly has it. But as well, it's more as well when the ball's getting played to him, though, and that first time finish for that first goal. That's very impressive. That shows really brilliant technique. And again, a lot of players in the Premier League wouldn't have scored that chance, and he made it look easy. He absolutely just buried it. So I think his finishing is phenomenal. How many goals? I'm thinking about it. Probably of the 16 goals, probably like 80 or 90% of them being first-time finishes, whatever it is, whether it be a tap-in or just a shot that he doesn't have to take a touch with. He very rarely scores when he has to take a touch, which I think goes to show maybe he's a player who likes to play more of instinct than a player who has to think too much about things.
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. And I mean, we've seen many a player like that over Spurs, over a long period of time. And I think, look, I like Brennan Johnson. I just feel like he just needs to add a bit more to his game because when he's not scoring, he ain't doing too much. And he needs to impact the game in those kind of moments a bit more. But like I said, 23-year-old, still learning his game. I think he can still add that.
Also won the penalty as well, didn't he?
He won the penalty as well, yeah. So, I mean, 2 goals and an FPL assist. Can't really complain with that for a 3-1 win against Southampton. But look, first half, really good. Second half, I mean, I don't know what happened in that second half. That second half was shocking. It really was shocking. It felt like they came out and felt like the game was won already. So slow, no real incisive play, no real patterns of play. It felt like at one point the ball was just in the middle third of the pitch for about 20 minutes, just making each team was just fouling each other for about 20 minutes. And I was sitting there and I was just like, what are we doing here? Seriously.
It was late. It was such a lazy second half performance. You could see especially our fullbacks and not just them, but whoever was picking up the ball in our own half, we're just lumping it to Solanke and seeing if he can hold it. And if he couldn't hold it, we reverted back into our position. If he could hold it, we tried to get forward a bit, but that was so few and far between. Solanke was struggling up against Benrek and Harwood-Bellis in that second half for some reason. Either he was getting fouled or he was losing the ball. He wasn't really getting on the turn or holding up much. And our players just seemed very lazily to just every time be looking for him. Didn't look to be doing anything themselves. Didn't be looking to get up the pitch and take responsibility, essentially. They just basically fobbed off responsibility to Solanke that whole half. And it was really horrible to watch. I think defensively, I didn't have too much of an issue just because I don't think Southampton created too many chances apart from right at the end. But we definitely offered them a lot of encouragement. I mean, when they scored, it wasn't a massive surprise, was it?
No.
Because they would have been creeping in on our half and getting closer and closer.
And we just kept getting deeper and deeper and deeper.
Yeah, I think Sugawara forced a save out of Vicario at one point. But other than that, I don't remember too many real chances they had. Sulemana was getting some joy out of Porro down that right-hand side in that second half. But again, yeah, I thought we dealt with pretty much everything they threw at us, apart from the goal. To be honest, I don't really feel like they were going to score, but I wasn't surprised when they did score, just because we allowed them to get a foothold in the game and gave them. I know they definitely upped their game in terms of they were pressing a lot higher. They would obviously they knew if they lost, they're relegated mathematically, so they just had to go all out. So they did try and they changed their game plan. But, I mean, there was so much space in behind them. It should have been really easy for us to pick them off. And the fact that not only did we not do that, but we never even looked like trying to do that. The only moment I remember before we scored the penalty was, a couple of moments. I remember one moment Maddison played Son through and he just took way too long to shoot and it got blocked. And then there was another moment we just played a long ball to Solanke. On one of the rare occasions he bullied, I think, Harwood-Bellis, and then he got the shot off and Ramsdale made a really good save, and that was actually led to the moment where Ramsdale handled the ball outside the box, and which was ridiculous how he didn't get any sort of card for that, by the way. Didn't understand. He actually cynically pulled it back. I thought it was bizarre that the referee didn't book him for that. I thought it was ridiculous. But
that man was getting no ends of abuse from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium yesterday. It was beautiful to see, to be honest.
He deserves it. He loves the relegation, Ramsdale. Absolutely addicted to the relegation.
You know how many people were shouting that to him yesterday? You love a relegation, Ramsdale!
Look, he deserves it. After, what was it, a few years ago, he was having altercation with one of the Spurs fans, albeit ended up with one Spurs fan kicking him, was obviously not called for. But I remember there was a bit of back and forth at that point. Obviously, former Arsenal keeper, one who's not shy about giving banter as well. He's always going to get it. But yeah, that was the only 2 moments before the penalty that we had in that half. And especially as well, we made subs fairly early, 55th minute. We brought on Odebear and we brought on, was it Gray at that point? No, we brought on Odebear and Sarr.
Odebear and Sarr, yeah, for Bentancur and Son.
And then on what, 75? Or then was it 80 and then 85, was it?
It was 80 and 87, yeah. So Gray and Basuma came on and then Tell came on.
And I don't think the subs did much as well. Nothing. I don't think they really improved anything. Ange alluded after the game that maybe the players had an eye on Thursday, which he didn't like to see. Which part of me is understandable, but maybe make it 3-0 before you start playing like that, because 2-0, the game is still... If they get a quick goal, all of a sudden it's still a bit in the balance. So I would like them to have just killed it off. and it just wasn't good to watch. It was boring. We were just basically, it seemed as though we were just retreated into our half, and we were just happy to defend for that half, which is not like us, and it wasn't pretty to watch. But I guess on the other hand, it's and maybe not necessarily against Southampton, but it's also something that a lot of fans have been saying. We should maybe not continue to play like we always do it when we got a 2-0
The reality is, though, this is Southampton.
Yeah.
This is Southampton. And if we really wanted to, we probably could have scored about 6-7 goals yesterday. You know what I mean? That's how poor this opposition is. We scored 4 goals against them in the first 20 minutes on their own stadium. You know what I mean? Like, if we're on form and we're at our creative best, like, we could score bucket loads of goals against this lot. So I think when fans are saying that, I don't think they mean against Southampton.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. So, yeah, I mean, it was very disappointing that second half. There's no getting away from it. Obviously, we got a bit of luck kind of at the end to that penalty, which kind of came out of nowhere. It didn't really look like coming. It looked like we were just going to have to hang on after we conceded that goal. And Southampton obviously got that encouragement from the goal they scored, which again was poor defending. Back post, he's able to chest it and volley and take it down and shoot without anyone putting pressure on him.
It felt like Spence was completely outnumbered at the back post.
Yeah, he had 2 or 3 men there.
Why is that happening?
Shouldn't be.
It's ridiculous. And it happens so many times of us just at the back post. This is just what I'm talking about. Of like, it's not carbon copy, but same issues just creeping up time and time again with the defending at the back post.
Yeah, it's been there ever since last season, really, to be honest. And it continues to be an issue, and that was an issue again with the goal we conceded. But credit, I guess, to Odegaard for the penalty that we won as well, because he kind of nicks it off one of the Southampton players in the middle, drives forward, plays in Brennan, and obviously win the penalty. And what do you think about the Tell and Brennan kind of argument? They kind of Tell wanted the penalty. Brennan
I haven't actually seen it. I haven't seen it because, like, live, I didn't see it. It was all the way on the other end of the pitch. And look, I thought, like, I saw Tell pick up the ball. So in the vlog, I was like, oh, it looks like Tell's going to take the penalty. But I don't see why I don't know why Johnson didn't take that. I mean, I do actually. I can see it from both kind of angles. So Tell obviously has just joined the club. He wants to get that monkey off his back and score his first Premier League goal for Spurs, which is understandable. And he's obviously a 19-year-old kid, and he's probably chomping at the bit to put the ball in the back of the net. But Brennan Johnson's on a hat-trick. For his first Premier League hat-trick, man, just let him take it.
Yeah, but if Tell's a designated penalty taker as well at that point, I think there's a shot.
Is he? I don't know.
Well, there's a shot of Romero giving him the ball.
Well, if that's the case, then that's the case.
And if I'm Tell, you know, and I think Tell probably needed it more than Brennan. As much as Brennan had the hat trick, the guy is still our top goal scorer. It's not like this extra goal is going to change much of for his standing. Maybe for himself because he wanted that hat trick. I get it, but I think Tell needed it more. To be honest, if I'm Tell, there's no reason why I should give it up. Maybe he felt if the roles were different and Tell was on better form, maybe he would have felt like I can give this to Johnson, but he needed that goal. He needs to get up and run in the Premier League. And I thought he took it confidently as well. The way he just strode up and kind of shimmied a bit.
Keeper went the right way. He couldn't do anything.
He showed a lot of composure.
Yeah.
I thought for the penalty.
Look, credit to Tell. I mean, I don't really have too many problems with if either of them took it. I didn't really care, to be honest, but I think if Tell's a designated penalty taker, then and Romero's the captain and he gives it to Tell, then it is what it is. Like, I don't really mind either way.
And yeah, me neither. I don't think it's a massive issue. And also it was interesting to hear Brennan Johnson talk about it after the game. He's said, look, I tried to get it off Tell, but at the end of the day, there's only so much you can talk about it before the penalty because I don't want to put him off if he's going to take it. And he said it's happened to me before where it's my penalty to take and someone's tried to take it off me and they've tried really hard and it's really put me off. And I didn't want to do that to him. So he said basically, look, he made his case, but he didn't want to push it too hard because if he was going to take it, he wanted him to score. So I think that's fair enough.
Yeah. But look, all in all, 3 points, decent in the first half, really poor in the second half, but all eyes on Thursday at the end of the day. That's what it comes down to. We need to make sure we're right for that game. And if that's what it takes, a bit of a slow performance in the second half to make sure no one gets injured or no one's overly tired going into that Thursday game, then so be it.
Yeah, and said everyone came through unscathed. Let's hope that's true come Thursday.
Yeah, he says that, but I was actually quite worried looking at Sonny. I really was. I mean, he does go straight down the tunnel, then comes out straight away and then sits down. I was literally zooming the camera on in this, and then one of the team go and check him out. And then after the game, he doesn't look right after the game. He's looking very gingerly, walking around, limping a little bit. I know Ange said everyone's come through unscathed, but that does make me concerned a little bit about Sonny.
Yeah, maybe. Well, let's hope. Well, he did take him off in 55 minutes, didn't he? Let's hope it's
and he
not.
did go down in the first half as well.
Yeah, let's hope it's nothing too serious. When I was watching the video, when he comes off, he goes and shakes everyone's hand, then he goes down the tunnel.
Yeah.
Usually, if you're injured, you're not going to do that. You're just going to go.
Yeah,
straight down the
that's true,
tunnel.
but that doesn't explain why he's walking with a limp after the game.
I don't know. He just played some football. Some people walk gingerly. I don't know.
Come on.
Some people do.
He's played 55 minutes in a game of football where he didn't really have to exert himself too much. I mean, I don't remember too often Sonny walking around with a limp like that after the game.
Haven't seen it. Have to watch it back. But hopefully, so he's not too bad.
Let's hope so. But yeah, like I said, good to get 3 points finally. How many wins are we going to get from now to the end of the season now? Because we've got some really hard games coming up.
Yeah.
We've got 2 home games left, I think it is. 3. Nottingham Forest, Crystal Palace and Brighton.
Mm-hmm.
How many points can you see out of those 3 home games? I can't see many.
Playing like that, probably not too many.
It's Forest, I can't see. Like, how are we going to break down that Forest team?
All depends on the situation at the time, if we're still in Europa or not. Like if we're resting players for those games, it's hard to say. But there were signs in the first half, at least a bit of cohesion back in the team. But second half didn't seem anything from us in that sense. But look, football changes very quickly. You know, really, if we have a great performance on Thursday and a morale boost performance, all of a sudden momentum can be with you. That all change, then it changes. But yeah, based off what I saw in this game, I can't really sit here and say that game gave me a lot of confidence that, you know, we're going to be flying on Thursday. But I'm hoping that we're saving a bit of energy so we're flying on Thursday. But
a lot of people were coming up to me at the protest then, and they were saying to me, wow, I can't believe your brother's finally turned. I can't believe he's finally turned. But they all followed up saying, I bet you 1 win he's going to turn back. So have you turned back?
Haven't turned back yet. I'm open to turning back though. I don't like being on this side. I don't like it. I feel dirty. I prefer being back on the other side. So I'm desperate to jump back if I can.
One win against Frankfurt,
call
and
me
then
a
it's all
flip flop.
back in.
But I want to go back to the Ange In side. But I'm not
One win
there yet.
against Frankfurt, and he's going to be fully Ange In again.
For now, well, if we make it through the tie, I'll be Ange In again. If we get through against Frankfurt, get to the semi-final, bring him back, bring him home.
All right, let's move on and let's